There's a strange ache that lives in the modern world, a quiet hum of not-enoughness that follows us from the moment we wake up and check our phones to the moment we fall asleep scrolling through lives we don't have. It's the feeling that no matter how much you achieve, how much you acquire, how much you improve, the finish line keeps moving. You get the job, but then you need the promotion. You get the car, but a better model comes out. You get the followers, but you feel the pressure to get more. It's a race with no end, and it's turning our lives into a frantic pursuit of a peace that never seems to arrive. We've been told that poverty is about having too little. But what if that's not the real definition of being poor? What if the most crushing poverty isn't in your bank account, but in your soul? That's because the hunger for more is a ghost that can't be fed. It's a void that no amount of success, validation, or consumption can ever truly fill. The ancient Stoics understood this better than anyone. Seneca, a man who had immense wealth and power, saw firsthand how little it mattered. He famously wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This isn't just a clever quote. It's a diagnosis of the human condition. It's a mirror held up to our restless, wanting minds. This is about understanding the quiet, powerful truth that real wealth has nothing to do with what you own, and everything to do with what you no longer need. It's about the shift from chasing the world to building your own. If this idea speaks to something in you, if you're tired of the endless race and ready for a different kind of wealth, there's just one simple, free favor I'll ask. Hit that subscribe button. It tells me you're ready to stop chasing and start building, and it lets us continue this journey toward a richer, more grounded life together. Let's get into it. The horizon that always retreats. We've all played this game. We set a goal telling ourselves, once I get that, I'll finally be happy, I'll be able to relax. Whether that is a certain salary, a relationship, a body, or a level of recognition, we pour all our energy into reaching it. And then we do. For a moment there's a rush, a feeling of arrival, but it's fleeting, isn't it? Almost as soon as the satisfaction lands, a new thought creeps in. What's next? The horizon we were sprinting toward wasn't a finish line. It was just a marker on an endless road. This isn't a personal failure. It's a psychological trap known as the hedonic treadmill. Our brains are wired to adapt. What once felt like a luxury quickly becomes the new normal, and the craving for the next level begins all over again. This is the poverty Seneca was talking about. It's a state of perpetual dissatisfaction where your peace is always held hostage by the next acquisition. You're not living your life. You're constantly auditioning for the next, better version of it. You become a ghost in your own present moment, haunted by a future that promises a contentment it can never deliver. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who had the world at his feet, saw this emptiness even from the throne. He wrote in his private journal, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." He understood that the source of our suffering isn't that we have too little, but that our minds have been trained to believe that happiness is always somewhere else. The modern world has hijacked this natural tendency and put it on steroids. Every advertisement, every algorithm, every curated social media feed is designed to poke at your sense of inadequacy. It whispers that you're just one purchase away, one upgrade away, one life hack away from being whole. But it's a lie. A brilliant, profitable lie. Carl Jung, the pioneering psychologist, spoke of the human need for wholeness, or what he called individuation. This is the process of becoming who you truly are, integrated and complete within yourself. But the consumer world doesn't want you to be whole. It wants you to be a collection of unmet desires, because an empty person is a reliable customer. A restless soul is a predictable click. The first step in escaping this poverty of craving is to see the game for what it is. To recognize that the finish line is an illusion. The feeling of enough is not a destination you arrive at, it is a decision you make. It's the moment you stop looking at the horizon and start looking at the ground beneath your feet. It's the conscious choice to find wealth not in what you can acquire, but in what you can appreciate right now. This isn't about giving up on your goals. It's about detaching your inner peace from the outcome. It's about building a life where your happiness isn't dependent on the next "what if," but is rooted in the solid ground of what is. You can't win a race that has no end. The only way to find peace is to stop running. The poison of the double mirror. There's a unique kind of poverty that didn't exist for the Stoics, at least not in its current, hyper-accelerated form. It's the poverty of the endless scroll. We carry around these little black mirrors in our pockets, and with a single swipe, we can look into the lives of millions. But it's a double mirror. We think we're just looking out, but every image we see is reflected back, shaping how we see ourselves. And it's almost always a distorted reflection. We're comparing our raw, unedited, behind-the-scenes reality with someone else's perfectly curated highlight reel. And in that comparison, our own life, no matter how good it is, can suddenly feel lacking. This is the poison of comparison. It's the fastest way to feel poor, even when you're rich in all the ways that truly matter. Your quiet, happy morning with a cup of coffee feels insignificant next to someone's sunrise yoga on a Balinese beach. Your small personal victory feels like nothing compared to someone else's public award. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who was born a slave and understood true hardship, taught a vital lesson. It is not things themselves that disturb men, but their judgments about things. The beautiful vacation isn't what makes you unhappy. It is your judgment that your life is less valuable because you're not on that vacation that causes the pain. You are the one introducing the poison into your own mind. Social media has become the architecture of modern craving. The algorithms are designed to show you what you lack. They learn your insecurities, your desires, your triggers, and they feed you a perfectly tailored stream of content that keeps you feeling just a little bit behind, a little bit less than. It fuels the belief that everyone else has it figured out, that their lives are more exciting, more beautiful, more meaningful. Carl Jung would have called this a mass projection event. We project our own shadow, our unfulfilled desires, our insecurities, our unlived lives, onto the glowing screens of others. We see in their curated perfection the inverse of our own messy reality, and it makes us feel poor in spirit. But here's the secret. Their lives aren't real, not in the way they're presented. You're seeing the photo, not the 50 attempts it took to get it. You're seeing the smiling couple, not the argument they had in the car on the way there. You're seeing the success, not the years of failure and anxiety that preceded it. Real life is textured. It has flaws, boredom, and bad lighting. When you trade your own textured reality for someone else's flat, perfect image, you always lose. The antidote to this form of poverty is a radical act of self-loyalty. It's the choice to turn your gaze away from the screen and back to your own life. It's the discipline of celebrating your own small moments, even if they're not Instagram-worthy. It's what Aristotle called eudaimonia, a kind of deep human flourishing that comes from living a life of virtue and purpose, not a life of comparison. True wealth is being able to witness someone else's success or happiness without letting it diminish your own. It's the quiet confidence of knowing that your path is your path, and you don't need to measure it against anyone else's. The moment you stop comparing is the moment you start living. And in that presence, in that focus on your own journey, you find a richness that no filter can replicate. The empty throne of validation. There is a throne inside of us, a seat of judgment that determines our worth. For most of us, we let the entire world sit on that throne. We allow the opinions, the approval, and the validation of others to decide how we feel about ourselves. We become beggars for praise, constantly holding out a cup for a few drops of recognition. This is the poverty of the soul, the belief that your value is something that must be given to you by others, rather than something you own inherently. You spend your life performing, not living. You say things you don't mean to be liked. You buy things you don't need to be admired. You pursue paths you don't love to be respected. And you end up living a life that isn't even yours. Seneca saw this clearly. The man who craves more is not just craving things, he is craving validation. He believes that if he just gets enough approval, he will feel whole. But external validation is like salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. A like on a photo gives you a momentary hit, but it leaves you needing another one tomorrow. A compliment feels good, but it makes you anxious about whether you'll get another. You're living on a diet of emotional scraps, and it leaves you perpetually hungry. Socrates famously declared, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Part of that examination is asking yourself, who am I when no one is watching? Who am I when there is no applause? If the answer is, I don't know, it's a sign that you've outsourced your identity. This need for validation makes you incredibly easy to control. When you need someone's approval, you will bend your own principles to keep it. You will silence your own truth to avoid their disapproval. This isn't freedom, it's a beautifully decorated cage. Epictetus taught that the most important choice in life is to distinguish between what we can control and what we cannot. You cannot control whether people like you, praise you, or understand you. Trying to do so is a recipe for misery. What you can control is your own character, your own integrity, your own actions. True wealth is anchoring your sense of self in the things you command, your own virtues. Think of the people you most admire. Are they the ones who are constantly trying to please everyone, or are they the ones who have a quiet, unshakable sense of their own center? They speak their truth, not with arrogance but with clarity. They live by their own code, not by the shifting opinions of the crowd. They don't need you to validate them because they have already validated themselves. Their throne is not empty, nor is it occupied by strangers. They have taken their own seat. This is what Carl Jung meant by becoming a whole person. It is the integration of your own values to the point where they become your compass, and you no longer need to ask the world for directions. Reclaiming this power starts with small acts of courage. It's saying no when you mean no without a long apology. It's stating your opinion even if it's not the popular one. It's choosing the activity that brings you joy even if no one else understands it. Each of these acts is a declaration. My inner voice matters more than your outer approval. It will feel uncomfortable at first. You've been trained to please. But with each act of self-loyalty, you reclaim a piece of your own soul. You slowly, deliberately take back your throne, and you will find that the less you need the world's approval, the more of its genuine respect you will earn. The richness of a single breath. We are a culture obsessed with acquisition. We are always reaching for the next thing, the next experience, the next feeling. Our minds are in the future, planning, strategizing, and worrying. In this constant forward motion, we have become profoundly poor in the one place where life actually happens, the present moment. We are so busy chasing a bigger life that we miss the life we actually have. The richness of now is lost to the fantasy of tomorrow. Seneca's poor man isn't just poor because he craves more things, but because that craving robs him of the ability to enjoy what he already possesses. True wealth is not an inventory of your possessions, but the quality of your attention. Can you drink a cup of coffee and actually taste it, without your mind already being in your first meeting? Can you listen to a friend and actually hear them, without simultaneously composing a reply in your head? Can you feel the sun on your skin without feeling the urge to capture it for social media? These are not small things. In the modern world, this level of presence is a superpower. It is the antidote to the poverty of distraction. Marcus Aurelius, in the midst of running an empire, constantly reminded himself to return to the present. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This retreat isn't about escaping the world, it's about fully inhabiting it. When you are fully present, the endless chatter of "I need" and "I want" begins to quiet down. In the silence of your full attention, you start to notice the intricate beauty of what's already here. The pattern of wood grain on your table, the sound of rain against the window, the feeling of a genuine laugh. These are the textures of a rich life, and they are available to you at any moment for free. But presence takes practice. Our minds have been trained to wander. The Stoics saw this and practiced exercises to build their attention, much like we would build a muscle. They practiced what we might now call mindfulness. They would deliberately focus on a single object, a single sensation, a single thought, and hold their attention there. Each time the mind wandered, they would gently bring it back. This wasn't about achieving a state of blankness, but about training the mind to be where the body is. Carl Jung spoke of the dangers of living too much in the head, disconnected from the wisdom of the body and the soul. He understood that a life lived entirely in future-oriented thought is a life unlived. When you drop out of your head and into your senses, you reconnect with this deeper wisdom. You start to feel, not just think. You notice the subtle signals of your body, the quiet whispers of your intuition. In the richness of the present moment, you discover that you already have everything you need to feel whole. You don't need to acquire more, you just need to attend more deeply to what is already yours. The next time you feel that familiar ache of wanting, of restlessness, try this: stop, take one deep breath, and for 60 seconds just notice. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear. Bring yourself home to your senses. In that small act of presence, you will find a wealth that no amount of chasing can ever provide. The radical discipline of enough. In a world that screams more, the most powerful and rebellious word you can speak is enough. Not enough in a sense of defeat or resignation, but enough as a conscious, deliberate, and powerful choice. It is the act of drawing your own finish line, of deciding for yourself what a successful life looks like, independent of society's ever-expanding definition. The man who craves more is poor because his definition of success is always just out of reach, designed by forces outside of himself. The rich man is the one who has defined his own terms for a good life and has the discipline to honor them. This is perhaps the most challenging Stoic practice of all. It's one thing to be content when you have little choice. It is another thing entirely to have the option for more money, more status, more possessions, more fame, and to consciously choose not to pursue it because it would cost you something more valuable: your peace, your time, your integrity. This is the discipline of sufficiency. It's choosing the smaller house because it means less stress. It's keeping the old car because it's paid for and works perfectly. It's saying no to the promotion because the extra hours would rob you of time with your family. These aren't acts of weakness. They are acts of immense strength and clarity. Epictetus taught that our chief task in life is to separate things into 2 categories: those that are up to us and those that are not. The endless opportunities and temptations of the world are not up to us. They will always be there. But our desire for them, our choice to pursue them, that is entirely up to us. The person who has not defined enough for themselves is a slave to every new opportunity. Their life is a reaction to the whims of the world. But the person who knows their enough is free. They are the master of their own desires, not the other way around. This doesn't mean you can't be ambitious. It means your ambition serves your values, not just your ego. It's the difference between striving for excellence and striving for excess. Excellence is about becoming better, honing your craft, contributing your best work. Excess is about accumulation for the sake of accumulation. The pursuit of excellence is fulfilling. The pursuit of excess is a bottomless pit. As Aristotle argued, true happiness comes from a life of virtuous activity, and virtue always lies in finding the mean, the balance between deficiency and excess. So how do you find your enough? It begins with introspection. The unexamined life is not worth living, and an unexamined desire will run your life. You have to sit down and be brutally honest with yourself. What do you actually need for a good life? Not what does your culture tell you that you need. Not what do your friends have. What do you in the quietest part of your soul truly value? Is it freedom? Is it creativity? Is it community? Is it peace? Once you are clear on your core values, you can use them as a filter for every decision. You start asking, does this opportunity serve my values, or does it simply feed my craving? This clarity is a shield. It protects you from the noise of the world and keeps you anchored to your own true north. Choosing enough is the ultimate act of self-possession. It is the declaration that you are the author of your own life, and you will not let the world write the script for you. The liberation of needing nothing. There's a strange paradox to desire. The more you want something, the more power it has over you. If you desperately need a job, you will accept poor treatment and low pay. If you desperately need a relationship, you will tolerate disrespect and dishonesty. If you desperately need approval, you will sacrifice your own truth. Your neediness becomes a chain. The person who craves more is poor not only because they are unsatisfied, but because they are not free. They are shackled to their own desires. The Stoics understood that the path to true power and freedom was not through getting everything you want, but through wanting less. This is the liberation of detachment. It's not about being cold or emotionless. It's about untangling your inner peace from your outer circumstances. It's the quiet, internal shift from "I need this to happen" to "I will handle it no matter what happens." When you can walk into any situation without needing a specific outcome, you hold all the cards. You can negotiate from a place of strength, not desperation. You can love from a place of wholeness, not emptiness. You can speak from a place of truth, not fear. Think about the feeling of letting go. When you finally release your grip on something you've been clenching, a grudge, an expectation, a desire, what happens? There is a release of tension, a sense of lightness. You haven't lost anything, you have gained peace. This is what Seneca meant when he suggested that we should practice poverty, to periodically live as if we have lost our possessions. Not to torture ourselves, but to prove to ourselves that our well-being is not tied to them. To learn in our bones that we can be okay without them. This practice builds a resilience that cannot be bought. It inoculates you against the fear of loss, which is the root of so much of our craving. Carl Jung's concept of the self is relevant here. The self is the core of our being, the part of us that is already whole, complete, and connected. The goal of life, in his view, was to connect with this inner center. When you are rooted in yourself, you no longer look to external things, people, possessions, status, to complete you. You are already complete. You can enjoy these things when they are present, but your soul doesn't crumble when they are absent. This is the ultimate wealth, an inner state of wholeness that the world cannot give you and cannot take away. This freedom is terrifying to people who operate on the level of control and manipulation. They don't know what to do with someone they have no leverage over. The person who needs nothing from them is the one person they cannot control. This is a quiet, profound form of power. It doesn't need to be announced. It is felt in your presence, in your calm, in your refusal to be pulled into drama or desperation. You become an anchor in a stormy sea. This path isn't easy. Our entire culture is built on stoking our desires and fears. To choose detachment is to swim against a very strong current, but it is the only path to real freedom. It starts by noticing your attachments. What are you clinging to? What outcome are you terrified of? Gently, with curiosity, begin to question that attachment. What would happen if you let go? Could you survive? Could you perhaps even thrive? The more you practice this internal release, the less the outside world can shake you. You become the master of your inner kingdom, and that is a richness beyond any measure. To summarize, the wisdom of Seneca's words offers us a profound reevaluation of our lives. It's a call to shift our focus from the poverty of endless craving to the wealth of inner contentment. This journey involves recognizing the illusion of the moving finish line and understanding that satisfaction is a choice, not a destination. It requires us to detoxify from the poison of comparison, especially in our digital age, and to root our self-worth in our own character rather than in the empty throne of external validation. True richness is found not in acquisition, but in the currency of presence, in our ability to fully inhabit the life we already have. This path demands the radical discipline to define our own enough, liberating ourselves from the shackles of wanting more. By letting go of our desperate need for specific outcomes, we find an unshakable freedom. This isn't about denying ourselves ambition or joy. It's about building an inner treasury, a mind so well kept and self-sufficient that it becomes the source of its own peace. This is the ultimate Stoic secret. The richest person is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least. When your inner world is in order, the outer world can offer you its gifts, but it can never again make you poor. You are already whole.